This podcast is sponsored by BB Makes, a family-run personalised gift company. From sports bottles to team merchandise, BB Makes has you covered. They will happily work with you to create unique designs for your perfect gift, with a wide range of products, all able to be personalised with names, quotes, pictures and much more. Head over to bbmakes.com. That's www.bebemakes.com and use the code COIS so they know that we sent you. Oh, and of course, come on you Spurs.
Welcome to the Spurs News Podcast, your home for all things Tottenham Hotspur. Now, here are your hosts.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Spurs News Podcast. I am Sam. Joining me to discuss all the latest happenings in the world of Tottenham Hotspur, thank you Coys Daniel, it's Stefan.
Hey buddy, how we doing?
Yes, I'm okay. We won a game.
Mate, you were the most positive person ever yesterday, and I
took
was
a new
very
approach.
impressed.
I had a moment. So basically, anyone who listens to the podcast will know that last week I kind of said, look, I've watched this kind of abject performance. I've kind of reached the end of my line with this. I feel that although I believe there are greater problems at the club which are ongoing, I've kind of conceded in my brain there's not a lot I can do about that. But the team under Ange just aren't doing it. This many defeats in a season, that level of performance, not good enough. We need to make a change. We played Bournemouth in between, battled back, but didn't play well. I felt the only thing in that I did kind of hold on to was we didn't lose. But going 2-0 down again at home
Was not good, was it?
No, it's not good. And even though we managed to get the 2-2 draw, it still didn't feel good. It still didn't feel like, like when you see a team battle back from 2-0 down and all of a sudden the crowd's up, the energy's up, and you sort of think, if anyone's going to win this, they are. I didn't feel that way.
Yeah, I'll be honest, even when we got the equaliser, I did not think, we're going to go on and smash another one now.
No.
I never had that kind of, yes, here we go sort of moment.
No, so again, I still kind of felt very, very flat, very, meh, I can't wait for this season to be over. And I guess in my head, going into the game last night against AZ or AZ, I'm not quite sure how they want it pronounced, but they, in my mind, I don't know what time it was, but I just kind of got it in my head that I'm doing this to myself. I'm kind of suffering twice. Because I'm going into the game expecting us to be crap, expecting to hate every minute of it, dreading it. So I'm actually making myself miserable before I watch the game, and surely it's up to Tottenham to make me miserable. Surely I shouldn't do this to myself. So I elected to go, do you know what? I'm just going to go into this. We have got a very, very good team. There are some phenomenal players there, and when Ange ball's in full flow, it's a thing of beauty. There is no reason we can't win this game 3-0, 4-0 tonight and really make a statement and go for it. So I went uber positive, and whether I was rewarded for that or whether I was just a deluded nut job, I don't know. But I
thought you were drunk at first, I'll be honest.
You did actually ask if I was
day
drunk,
drinking.
Yes. Yeah. But I don't know, it just kind of... I felt better, like going into it with a kind of positive. Now, don't get me wrong, the performance was better, which meant that I went into it feeling positive and it didn't immediately get sucked out of me, like the sort of gut punch of, we are crap. And it didn't
We had that against
instantly...
Bournemouth within the first minute. Vicario had to make a great save, and I'm already going, 90 more minutes. Oh.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And we didn't have that. We started well. Without it being like a ridiculously fast start, but we did start well and we started positively. It was so obvious what they were going to do. They were going to try and hit us on the counter, and it was fine. It was a game set up that way, and I enjoyed it. I mean, there's bits and pieces to sort of pick out and go, this was interesting, that was kind of a squiff, or this was mad. But there's one thing. So a couple of things. I'll just talk through and I'll bring your opinion in it as well. Solanke adds so much to this side.
Massively.
He is a genuine goal threat, which fixes defenders because they know he's a genuine goal threat, and that has an instant impact for the wide players in Son, Odegaard, to make runs, and the inverted fullbacks as well, because when they come in and they're occupying that position's largely empty now because the defenders are quite terrified of Solanke getting in behind them. Also, out of the ball, he's relentless. He runs and chases, and defenders must finish a game just seeing him in their sleep.
I find as well that when Solanke's playing and he's doing that high press, he's almost literally dragging the team up the pitch with him. He's really chasing that first centre-back that's got the ball. And by him doing that, for example, last night, Son, Odegaard, Maddison, Sarr, they had no choice but to also step up, because otherwise there was that big gap in the middle. So by him doing it, they have to do the same as well. And all of a sudden, you've got an entire team then pressing from the front and following that first person. And that, I think, is really underrated.
I agree, but also disagree. I agree he sets the tone with that, but we played Bournemouth and he was playing that entire game and it didn't happen. The difference, and I think is the reason why that happened last night, I think is actually the centre-backs. I think Van de Ven and Romero holding a higher line.
Kind of them pushing the other people higher up. Yeah,
basically,
quite possible.
Yeah. Because Solanke does that, and it sets a tone. Like you saw, our first goal came from Son winning the ball high up, pressing, and then just into Solanke, who put a beautiful assist, getting it to Odegaard. This sort of it looks a simple pass, but you get that slightly to ahead of him, slightly behind him, he can't finish that. So that's calmness and unselfish as well, which is an attribute we're not used to in our striker.
No, because I think if that ball had been played into Son or Richie, that next pass isn't made.
No, I agree with that. I think they both go for goal like Kane would have before.
Yeah.
But Solanke looked up and saw that, and it was the right thing to do. And that's the type of player he is. But when you were talking about that with the players being higher up and there not being these big gaps, that for me is the line being where it was. Because I think the thing we've struggled with for so long without both of them in the side is, and quite rightly recognising, without Van de Ven's pace, we can't hold that higher line. And I think the defenders themselves know they can't hold it that high.
Yeah.
So it gradually, during a game, drifts back. Especially, a bit more fatigue in the legs, right? Drift back.
In your head if you've got a 20, 30, 40-yard sprint in your legs or a 10-yard sprint in your legs.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what we saw was the team, and what we see week in, week out for weeks now, and I remember I kept saying it feels like the opposition have just got more players.
Yeah.
Everywhere they've got players and we don't. I think the big gaps are because the other players in the team, and maybe this is something Ange needed to look at, maybe it's something the players just through pure, this is how we play, mate, needed to realise, actually, if our defence is dropping, we need to drop as well. We can't be, as a inverted fullback, I can't be in the number 10 position if my central defenders are stood on not on the halfway line, they're stood on the edge of our own box. Because that means that if a player takes the ball off me, a la against Bournemouth, he has a free run, the length of the pitch. So there's got to be a little bit of football intelligence. It's interesting because I listen to various things, and Roy Keane, I know, isn't flavour of the month with a lot of Tottenham fans because of his Maddison criticism. But one of the things he's talking about is he feels that players now are slightly overcoached and rely on the coaching Like, this is our system, this is how I play, this is what I do in my system. And as long as I just do that, I'm not in trouble.
Yep.
And it's become a kind of automatron of like, no, Mr. Manager, you can't be mad at me because I've done exactly what you told me to do. And it's not my fault. Like, I've tried it and it's not worked. It's not my fault. And he was talking about, there's an element of sport and intelligence, an element of just individual responsibility. And me and you talked a little bit about this after the Bournemouth game in that goal. Pedro Porro is caught horrifically there up the field with a bad pass. That can happen anywhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, you go through and a guy can cut a pass out. It could be a brilliant pass and it gets cut out. It just happens anywhere. What then happened for me is the criminal part. And I don't actually blame Porro there, okay? Because Porro is gone forward. We as a team have gone forward and he's lost the ball.
Yep.
So my issue here is when Porro's gone, who's right back?
Who's the covering player? Like we used to have Eric Dyer with Walker and Rose. One of them goes up, he would just slot in nicely to where the gap was.
Yeah. And then Wanyama did it as well. And
yep.
You look at it, and there's, like I said, there's an element of sport and intelligence, because if you're a holding midfielder, you are there, the number 6, whatever people want to say. Your job is to seek out danger, plug the holes, plug the gaps. What happened there? Like, nobody. That guy went the length of the pitch and had the time.
Anything. Yep.
Without a glove on him, and had the time to pick out an incredible cross. Like, people again were criticising Spence on that. Look, yeah, maybe he could have done better, but there's no way that should ever have happened. That guy should never have been able to advance that far up the pitch, and he certainly shouldn't have been allowed to basically take almost like a set piece of being able to take all the time he wanted to deliver that ball.
Yeah.
No one was breaking their necks to get to him. Porro was sprinting back, but was so far behind him at the start. But our midfield watched him. Like, I encourage anyone to go back and watch this. Sarr and Bentancur, it was, just jogging in from the centre circle back to our box, neither of them heading out to him.
Yeah.
They
was like they'd been put into like almost like sprint lanes, and it was like go from here to here. Yeah. Do not go outside the white lines. Just go from here to here. Yeah.
It was weird. It's just so that. But then, like I said, there was a lot of that was just frustrating, and whether it's individuals not taking responsibility, you can blame the coaching on this. But I bring this down to, is it the level of the players? I.e., if you had a better player playing that role, would he, okay, this is our system, this is this, but I know if he's up there, I need to be there. Like, I don't, like, so for example, what I mean by that is, if Basuma had gone to cover there in that moment, I don't think Ange Postecoglou's screaming at him, go back to where you were.
No.
Does that make sense?
No, definitely not. He's probably applauding him for getting a tackle in and breaking down their attack.
Exactly, yeah. It's like there's no one in that coaching staff for Tottenham who are going to go screaming at him, what are you doing? Because he's literally seen the danger, seen the gap, and he's got there.
I've just had a flashback to Sandro scoring against Man United and Harry Redknapp going, yeah, very good, now get the fuck back in midfield.
Yeah.
Just had that flashback. I loved that moment. Sorry. It was only as you were saying that I got the flashback of it.
So the AZ game, like I said, there was a lot there. For me, having Van der Ven and Romero makes a hell of a difference. Romero is so aggressive, so abrasive. And I've missed... Look, I know a lot of people don't like him for this, but Troy Parrott is a very, very physical player. Like, I've watched this kid since he was 17. He has always been gnarly, in your face, talking shit to the defenders from minute 1 to minute 90. He's good, he's very good, holds the ball up well, on the shoulder.
Yeah.
He has always been a striker and a forward and a player I've liked, because he's got that bit about him. In the first leg, he was up against Danzo, and there was he probably got the better of him a couple of times. Danzo got the better of him, but there was a lot of needle between the two of them.
Yes.
Last night, I think it was about 6 minutes in, there was the first confrontation between him and Romero. About 5 minutes after that, Romero absolutely levered him. Like, absolutely took him out. Won the ball, perfectly legit challenge. The referee did the whole, hey, took the ball, no problem. And Parrott took a minute to get up. But what you don't see, but then Romero posted on his Instagram, is him stood over him talking to him.
Yeah.
Which I imagine was, get used to being in the dirt, you little shit. That's where you're living tonight. And that, I know a lot of people don't like that, and it feels old school almost, but Danzo and other defenders don't have that. You're not going to see Van de Ven do it. You're not going to see other people do it. It's a kind of... And sometimes the referee's not going to like it. Sometimes he's going to go, no, that was too aggressive, Oi, I saw you do that, I see yellow, whatever.
Yep.
But there isn't a striker in the league who enjoys playing against Romero. And that's a good thing. Like, he did that. And Parrott, by and large, after that, had a very quiet night.
he didn't want to get marked by Romero again, did he?
Well, he if you actually, again, you watch the game, he kept peeling off on Van de Ven, but he couldn't get past him because of the pace.
Yeah.
So in the end, he came back onto Romero again and just got man-marked out of the game. I think there was one opportunity where a ball came in and we kind of made a couple of changes and Parrott really would have scored, I think. But another guy took the ball off his head and knocked it over the bar.
Yeah, if he had been left free ahead of that, I don't think he misses that one.
Yeah, I think you put in our group chat that was a really great clearance from their midfielder.
Yeah.
Yeah, good defensive header. But yeah, we got kind of caught out there, and that was probably the one moment he had after that.
Was it him that had the half volley thing that Basuma cleared off the line as well?
I'm not sure that was him. Yeah, it was. There was a guy, and the commentator said his name like 10 times, and I still can't remember it. But it was like one of those, I don't know, cardigan. I don't know.
Yeah.
But overall, just talking in general terms now, it was a lot better. It showed effort, and the one player who was frustrating me in it. So this is a funny thing, all right? So I'm just going to say this, and I'm going to let you talk, and then we'll move on from the AZ game. The player that was frustrating the life out of me was Maddison. I was getting very, very frustrated early on. He ducked out of a 50-50. That always annoys me. To me, it's like a prerequisite. You run, you sprint, you get back. You don't shy away from challenges. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
It's just like that's a basic tenet of being involved in a top-level football match or sport of any physical sport. So that annoyed me. Passing wasn't that good. And he was slotting into this deeper like quarterback role where he was dropping deep to get the ball. But to me, again, he's not dangerous there. He needs to be pushed further forward. And so it was frustrating me. He took his goal brilliantly. I mean, like really, really well. And then after that, he was a different player. He was transformed. And I think it goes a lot to... That's just a perfect example. I imagine a lot of fans watching that game felt a little frustrated with him. But I'd like everyone to now think about the night and day difference in his confidence probably after that goal.
Yeah.
And just what confidence can do to players. Because when you saw Odegaard's second goal, that was created largely by Maddison spinning away in midfield and then, continuing the move. But if he doesn't do that, if he just knocks the ball backwards, that whole move dies.
Yep.
He doesn't do that in the opening 10 minutes. In the opening 10 minutes, he just passes that back to the defender and tries to get a new position. His confidence was up after the goal, and he was transformed. And that is the Maddison that if we all saw week in, week out, he'd A, be a nailed-on England player, and B, there would be no debate from ex-pros like Keane or anyone about him as a player. They just rave about him. And I think the reason why people are critical, and the reason why... he did this interview last week, he was kind of like, people dig me out or whatever, but at least they're talking about me. Yeah, I get that. But the reason is because everyone can see the level there. And it's just not... It's not often enough. It's not continual. So in a game last night where he got his confidence and suddenly he was transformed, it feels like someone needs to sit down with him like a coach, arm around the shoulder and say, look, watch this. This is you in the first 10 minutes. This is you in the 10 minutes before you went off. That's two different players, James. How do we get you like that from minute one? What do we need to do in the warm-up so you start the game feeling like that? Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean by that? Just kind of like...
We've got a couple of players that are the same. Son, I remember a little while ago, it was this season, but a little while ago, where he had that shot that took the big deflection, went in, and then because of that goal, he suddenly became a better player and scored a second goal. Because of confidence. And we've said for a long time that Son is very much a confidence player.
He is, yeah.
When he's got confidence, he is a world beater. When he's not got confidence, he may as well be on the bench.
I will say for him last night, from minute one, he was on it. He was at it.
He had a point to prove, it felt, last night.
That meant something to him last night. Like he's got a lot of criticism. Like, it's all words talking about, that was a wake-up call and all this stuff. All the time we get this. I think when he says it will mean the world to him to win something at Tottenham, he really means that.
Yeah.
Because that performance felt like this is my chance. This is it. Like, this is all or nothing. If I don't give everything tonight, I've only got myself to blame. And I felt from minute one he was at it. Sorry, mate, I just want to make that point. But yeah, you're absolutely
I agree.
Right.
I have a fear in Son, the same as I had the fear in Harry Kane the last season he was with us.
Okay.
Son seems to now be playing like this is kind of my last chance to win something.
It is.
And I'm like, does that mean that he knows this summer he's going to be off? Or
I think so.
And I feel like that's the way it's going now. I feel like he kind of has decided, right, that's it. This is the one trophy. This is what I can win. Because, like you said, from minute one last night, that was a different Son to what we've seen for the last few weeks.
Yeah, it was. I think with Son, just on that, is this, there's lots of different things out there, but the one recurring thing that I saw from a lot of journalists and people that I trust on this is that Son wanted a new 2-year deal. The club triggered an extension. Sonny wasn't asking for more money. He just wanted a 2-year deal. He wanted Sonny wanted to finish his career at Spurs. He wanted a 2-year deal with an option for the club, not even an option for him. As in, like, I'm going to stay fit, I'm going to keep going, and I will see out my career. I will retire at Tottenham. That was Sonny's attitude. And when they just triggered the 1-year option without even talking to him, without even engaging on anything, knowing what his desires were, it's upset him. And now he's considering, okay, maybe I need to go elsewhere.
It's sad, isn't
it? Look, the Polynesian Dan on our podcast thinks we shouldn't have even done that. He thinks he should have been sold last summer. He is far more... I mean, he's taken a far more pragmatic view on that. Now, my argument with Dan always is the kind of... I feel that that's Levy economics. And unfortunately, there's a big chunk of our fan base who feel that way about things, which is always better to get 30, 40, 50, 60 million for him than watch him fade, etc., etc. And yeah, okay, if you look at this season as he's not been the same or as good as he was in the past, maybe we should have cashed in. I mean, it's kind of hindsight's 2020, I personally think last season, if Harry Kane was still in the side, we potentially have a much better chance of winning something. We score a lot more goals.
Oh, crikey, yeah.
And there's every chance he loves playing Ange Ball so much. He's like, do you know what? You're paying me a shed load of money. I love it here. My family's here. This football is fun. Like, the last few years has been shite. This is fun. All right, give me that new deal. There's a chance that of course there's a chance that he could have left for nothing. But that's the kind of economics of, footballing victory versus financial balance sheet. I think with Son, I think he's still so good. Even people are criticising him this season. He's in double figures for assists and goals. If we were looking to recruit a player and he was coming in with double figures, assists and goals, everyone would be raving about him.
Yeah.
Like, like if Mikey Moore this season had the same stats as Son, he'd probably be in this England squad. And everyone would be talking about him as the next superstar. It's kind of, Son has been so good for so long, even when he's not at his absolute world-beating best, people are so critical because it's like, oh, this is it. It's the expectations through the roof. It's going to be one of those that when he does leave or retires or whatever, people are suddenly going to go, wow, we miss him. And that frustrates me a little bit. But like I said, that's just my opinion. Polynesian Dan's got his opinion. And we all know opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got them, and some are full of shit.
Well done. No, Dan's convinced 70 million last summer we missed out on. So, yeah.
Well, there was there's two parts of that. One, it was an offer from Saudi, and Sonny didn't want to go. So, yes, that was money that was available for him, but even if the club accepts it, doesn't mean he's going to go. I mean, if we'd accepted it and he didn't want to go, that would have been a bad thing. But but you probably could have got money 30 to 40 for him last summer from various clubs. I mean, Bayern Munich were interested, uniting him back with Kane.
Yeah.
And that Sonny possibly would, if the club had interested in that, then he probably would have taken that and he'd have gone back to Germany and finished his career there in the Farmers League with Kane, having a friggin' field day, and all of us would have watched them lifting trophies, and that would have been fun.
Oh, that would have sucked.
Yeah, big time. But yeah, so just to go back full circle, so I mentioned that about Maddison, the sort of 9-day thing. I think, for me, man of the match last night, he was phenomenal from minute 1 to the end, was Lucas Bergvall. I thought he was sensational. Everything he did was brilliant, except for one moment. There was one cock-up.
Yeah.
And it led to us conceding a goal, which is frustrating. But I do get a little bit annoyed at now I'm reading he was crap from people, which is so redundant, so reactive. He was brilliant. And anyone who... this is obviously all opinion, but anyone who doesn't see that, I do question if you're watching football or you understand it. He was brilliant. And he's just turned 19. Yeah, mistakes are going to happen when you are trying to do stuff, when you are trying to work things. And it was a mix-up between, we just brought Gray on. It was just a bad moment. But that can happen. Any game, any moment to any player. Like the best players in the world have those moments.
Yep.
But for me, his level is insane. So I just want to single him out. But yeah, mate, your final sort of thoughts on that game.
Finishing on from what you just said there, Lucas, I think he is going to be such an incredible talent. I look forward to the idea of having like him and Gray in central midfield. I think is going to be so good.
Yeah.
We got to see Gray in midfield at last for about 4 minutes. That was nice.
Yeah, and he shut stuff down quite well.
Overall, I said to my wife before kickoff, I actually said 3-1. And I was being hopefully
sorry, mate, just clearing my throat.
I was like, there's no way we don't concede a goal. With defenders coming back and a bit rusty and just the way we play, we're always going to concede a goal, it feels.
Yeah.
2-1 was too close a call for me to enjoy. Obviously 2-1 would have taken us to extra time.
Yeah.
And so I had this little, I reckon it'll be 3-1. I reckon we're going to get through on the night. When I saw the lineup, I was very happy with the lineup he produced. Like that starting 11, we have waited so long to see that starting 11 back on the squad together.
Yep.
Even like Davies coming back from injury as well is another player that we can use in rotation.
Yeah.
Happy with that. I don't know if you've got any kind of inside stuff at all, but we seem to have... Matthias Tell seems to have had like 3 appearances and then just become a bench warmer. It seems to be... I mean, I know I was one of the first ones to say he looks like he doesn't want to be in London. Like, he just doesn't seem to be... For me, it doesn't seem like he's giving everything on the pitch. Now, that could well be he's very young still. He's in a brand new squad, brand new city, new environment, new tactics. There's a lot of things going on there for him to be struggling. It's not like he's moved from let's say Solanke moved from Bournemouth to Spurs. It's a step up in class, but it's the same division. He's seen Tottenham play. He knows how they play. He's not just come in as a young lad from a foreign team and off you go, buddy.
I think Bournemouth would point to the league table at your comment.
I think a lot of the teams would at the moment, but we are a bigger club. We're not a better team at the moment, but we're a bigger club.
Yes.
But yeah, it just seems strange that he didn't even get off the bench in the last 2 games.
I don't think it's strange. I think he came in a moment where we were struggling to field a team, which meant he had to go straight in.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, he'd have been sat on the bench and getting minutes here and there, like coming on. Okay, you're going to go up against tired legs for 10, 15, get into the game. That would have been the ideal introduction to him. So it's almost like we're now seeing it in reverse.
Yeah, see, that's what I would have expected against Bournemouth and last night. Like last night, the last 10 minutes or so, okay, take a Son off and put him on and kind of let him run at the tired legs and stuff. And he didn't come on again. And I'm like, this is strange.
And it's opinion. I guess it's opinion, but I think Van de Ven had to come off on 60 minutes. That was clearly pre-planned. That's clearly something they are being very cautious with.
Did you see him touching his hamstring as he went to the bench? And I was like, don't you do that. Don't you do that. No, I gotta be honest. I think I was in such a positive frame of mind. Even if he'd done that, I just assume he was showing off how wonderful and muscular it was. Yeah, just pulling a wedgie out. It's fine. It's nothing.
Yes, Melvin. It was that was obviously pre-planned and stuff like that. Now, Solanke's just back from injury, and Solanke's all action. And Solanke said after the Bournemouth game, he didn't think it was a good game for him, but he really needed 90 minutes. And there was a moment in that game which a few people highlighted and I missed, where I think it was just after our second goal, we made it 2-2, and Ange was shouting to him, like, are you okay? Do you need to come off? And Solanke was just like, no, I'm fine. And in the post-match, Ange said, 90-odd minutes for Dom when he's so all-action is really important. Like, him getting those minutes. I think there are certain players who you rotate and you take off. Now, Sonny, like you just said then, could well have been a player you take off. But when he's playing that well on the night, leading the team, I can understand that you don't.
Yeah, I can understand it,
And I think perhaps it's easy to then, it's 2 games in a row he's been sat on the bench. Perhaps Ange thinks he's shite, signed him, he ain't no good. No, I think in the last game, Solanke needed to stay on, and he was like, okay, right, you're staying on, no problem. Otherwise, I think if he turned to the bench and be like, I'm fucked, tells on.
Yeah.
And then last night, I think, again, it's a different scenario where Solanke's still getting it in his legs, but he looked really good even as the game wore on. And you're looking at it and you're like, okay, what about Sonny then? That's the one. Actually, no. There's other players who look fatigued. I can switch around here. Sonny's actually playing out of his skin and is leading from the front. He's captain out there. I'm keeping him on. So, I think it's different games, different decisions been made. Fulham now, who knows? He'll probably start. But we'll have to wait and see. But I don't think there's anything there. Okay, so drawing a line under that game then. We do have some fan questions, so we'll head there now.
Now it's time for your comments from our social media.
Okay, so first up is Ryan Miller, who says, what is happening with Mikey Moore? Gone from a lot of minutes to nothing. There's nothing there. There's rumours of a few things in training. There's rumours about stuff, but I'm not going to do this because I've talked about stuff on the podcast in the past and it's come back to bite me. So he's absolutely fine. There's nothing to see there. He's a 17-year-old kid who's had his breakthrough this season as in the first team. He's training with the first team constantly. It's highly possible next season he goes out on loan somewhere. you don't. People need to understand how rare it is for a Wayne Rooney type player. In fact, in my lifetime, I've seen one, and his name was Wayne Rooney.
Yeah.
Like Harry Kane established himself in the Tottenham first team age 22, going on 23 in that season after 4 loans. But he made his debut season in the UEFA Cup, Europa League.
Yeah, he did.
As was at 17, 18, the same. So I get it. He's so exciting to watch, but there's a group of them there that are so exciting to watch. Jai, Olise, there's a group of them, and they're phenomenal, talented players. But Ange right now, with gun to his head, you must win or you are fired, is not going to throw Mikey Moore on when it's knockout football and you've got experienced players like Son ahead of him. It's just not going to happen.
No, I would
Son
quite
would
like
need
to
to be
see
injured.
a little group of them actually heading out on loan next season just to get that match time and experience.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's so many things up in the air about next season, from who's going to be in charge, therefore the system, the manager, who's going to play. And anyone, if Ange is gone and someone comes in, they're going to have to assess all the players, which will involve a lot of the academy kids. And they could say, right, don't sign me a winger or a midfielder because these kids here, and I rate them, they're in my side. Or, right, loan all them. I don't rate them at all. Different managers are different.
I'm not playing anyone under the age of 23 with experience, get the whole lot out
exactly.
on loan. Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't know where we're going to be. I mean, we could be hiring a manager who likes to play a back 9. Who knows? It's all good fun. Tom Perk says he was watching the game. Bergvall is quite simply a generational talent. Yeah, that's fair. Tom also says, do you think we should be signing Wharton and Dibbling in the summer?
Yes.
Or is it just Levy's ploy to buy young and sell for profit? Because other than Bale, Modric and Eriksen, we've not really cashed in on anyone else, have we? Or am I missing someone? Kane doesn't count because he had 10 years in the first team. Ooh.
I wouldn't say we cashed in on Eriksen.
No, we kind of missed out on Eriksen. We could have sold him for 100 million. He then sulked for a season and a half, and we sold him for just under 20 million. So no.
Yeah. However, Bale and Modric, I can understand.
Well, Modric again. I mean, Modric we sold for 40 million. So
He's
I guess
a
at the time,
generational talent. He was.
yeah, still is. I'm going to sound negative here, and I apologise to everybody, but I don't think we're shopping in the Wharton aisle. I don't see why he'd sign for us. Now, if I'm being optimistic, and that is a player that I think solves a big problem we have, English, homegrown, yeah, all day long, yes please, if we could. I don't see it. And I don't want anyone to forget this. According to Daniel Levy and our club, we were willing to pay best part of £80 million for Mark Gahey in January.
Yes, that's true. So the money is definitely there available if you want to.
No one forget that was what we were going to do. So when the summer window opens, obviously we're going to go straight back in for him, right? All that money we got, don't let him off the hook. I know it sounds like but don't, because they do it all the time. This PR, and it's so annoying. Now, don't get me wrong, if they do pull that off now, I'll commend them and I'll say, okay, maybe things are different. But history tells me it's bollocks. So no, I don't think we're shopping in that aisle. I think Manchester City is likely to test the resolve. I think Arsenal are definitely going to go for him. Chelsea haven't spent a lot of money in a couple of days, so they'll probably be interested as well.
Oh no, they're going for Joby Bellingham apparently.
Well, Job, yeah. I mean, Jobe Bellingham is a player that Tottenham have scouted for this entire season, and all clubs are keeping an eye on players. But I know first-hand knowledge that we have had a scout there for every single game he's played for a while, and will for the rest of the season. He's a player that a lot of the teams in the Premier League have kept an eye on, and it's been a kind of, his brother's got such a profile. I think there's an element of, is he good? Is his brother amazing? And he's, so there's been a real reluctance, because like last summer there were a lot of people linked to him and nothing happened. And now I think this summer he is definitely going to go somewhere. But again, I don't know where we sit right now. Like, if you're a football player, genuinely, and you're looking at your career and everything, you got all these clubs interested in you, what about Tottenham would appeal to you right now? And I'm actually asking you this, and I'm hoping you can tell me something, because to me...
Yeah, so I was
there's nothing.
listening to... What was I listening to the other day? Damn it, I can't remember if it was a podcast or the radio. But they were having a very similar discussion about a couple of players.
Yeah.
And they were saying, like, okay, so they listed 3 clubs, okay? One of them was Tottenham Hotspur. And it was like, you have got this incredible stadium, a fan base that packs that stadium every single match, passionate fans, and a manager who, when it's going right, plays a really, really good brand of football. So that's 3 ticks to Tottenham.
I think that's absolute bollocks.
The 3 ticks, unfortunately, get taken over by, do the club actually show any real ambition? Is that manager that's playing really good football actually going to be there next season?
Yep.
And what competitions are you going to challenge for next season?
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, okay, yeah, 3 really good reasons to sign for us, 3 not good reasons to sign. And I think they used, I think it was Chelsea and Man United were the other 2 examples. And it was like,
well, Man United
has the name. It's Manchester United. However, currently has a squad that is in the right place where it should be in the league. Has a new exciting manager, but also has a really stubborn manager that won't change any of his tactics to suit his squad. Old Trafford, amazing, also falling apart. Like, they were doing these kind of pros and cons for each team, but it was the Tottenham one that was like, yeah, we have the stadium, we have the fans, and we have this current style of football, which when it works is brilliant.
No.
But will that be there next season? Is there any ambition? We ain't going to be in Europe next season unless we win the cup this season.
See, now I'd argue the methodology there is wrong as well. Like, the stadium, I think the stadium's important for a lot of reasons, but if I'm a football player, there aren't many Premier League grounds that are shit.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, exactly.
Like if I'm looking to progress, like, you could argue that St James's Park in Newcastle, the atmosphere and everything there is so incredible. But I also know from history there's certain players who go like, yeah, you live up there, you play there, you're in a goldfish bowl. There's no escape. It's awful.
Yeah.
And that's kind of interesting to me. There's these different things. So I don't think the stadium's a factor. If the stadium is a factor, then Everton would be signing world-class players next season.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
I would like to say our training ground is a reason, but we haven't invested in that in so long. We're probably not in the top half of the table now for best training facilities. Although everyone loves to say that we have the best training facility in the world.
Yeah,
we're not
so I was told by someone who left the club. He worked for the club and he left. He said that there are things like league tables for the facilities and things like that. And he said in the Premier League right now, there are at least 10 clubs with better facilities for training than Tottenham. He said because they built them, they were incredible, and everything they've invested since then has been like add-ons. They got a beautiful hotel thing there for the club to stay in and stuff like that. That's great and all that stuff.
Not the lodge.
But the investment in the sports science and stuff hasn't had any since 2018-19 season.
Oh.
Like zero. Nothing's been done to develop that. Anything. Just zip.
Yeah.
But they added a new putting green for golf.
Fuck's sake.
You know, so
yeah,
you can look at that. It's beautiful, stunning. Like that, what a place to go to work. And the academy and stuff is there. The women's team is there and everything. This is a step up to everything else they'll ever experience. But from an actual training, actual implementation, sports science, all this modern stuff, it's now fallen behind at least 10 clubs in the league.
It's like
I
think as well is the fact that we have made it so big and shiny that it draws the attention. Whereas I'm going to pick a random name out of a hat here, Crystal Palace, for example.
Yeah.
They might have a bit of a rundown old building and training pitch that they use, but inside that, they have constantly invested on the brand new equipment and everything.
In a lot of ways, you're correct, but the club I'd point to for that actually more than Palace is West Ham.
Yeah.
The West Ham United have spent a lot, or, you might look from the outside and think it looks like Tottenham's did 10, 15 years ago. It's not as good, but the actual investment in the sports science stuff is completely different to us, night and day.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to mention West Ham for obvious reasons.
Because you love them. Strange you didn't bring them up. You already mentioned Man United today, of course. Oh, the wonderful Manchester United with the name. Oh, the big name. Yeah, I heard you. So lastly, we have Alvin says, after tonight's match yesterday, who will be the next Spurs manager? Well, we won the game. Obviously, you were anticipating defeat, but we won. So currently, good old Ange Postecoglou. I will say, interestingly, we play Fulham next.
Yes.
Now, I went into the AZ game completely. I said to you, I made the choice. I'm going to be positive, so I'm not going to suffer twice. I'm fairly confident knowing that we've just played Thursday night and it's an international break. We're going to be awful and lose.
The bit that scares me the most is the international break part.
It's like I've seen this film before. It's like it is just I kind of in my mind have gone on the international break now. There's a training match this weekend, which, whatever, it doesn't matter. Whatever happens doesn't matter. And I'm on my international break now. So that's kind of where I am, and I really hope we win the silly training game that doesn't mean anything to me or anyone else. But that's kind of mentally I've checked out. So I'm not going to get annoyed.
I normally kind of check out, but then keep an eye on the internationals. I'm going to really enjoy like a 2-week break this time round. So I'm hoping the Fulham game doesn't put a downer on that.
Well, that's very, very true. Now, just to kind of wrap everything up then, this week, we are going into the international break. The first England squad has been announced, and I said to you, and I genuinely mean this, I'm massively disengaged in international football. It's happened a couple of times in my life. I felt when the so-called golden generation came and went, I felt very disillusioned with international football. I just didn't enjoy watching it. And then Gareth Southgate largely brought me back to it because he picked younger players, obviously players he knew when he was doing the under-21s, and it felt like, okay, this kind of makes sense to me. The coach, this worked with a lot of these youngsters who are now older, is now going to coach it. And obviously our tournament results under him were very, very good compared to what they were under everybody else.
Yep.
But I largely got disengaged when I realised that he'd been in the job so long, he then had favourites. And there were certain players that no matter how awful they were for their club, were still getting picked over people who were genuinely playing really well week in, week out, because he'd say, they're great around the place, really important we have them here. And I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
The minute he said that, I disengaged. So I'd kind of clocked out, but with a new manager coming in, I thought, right, okay, I'll wait for his first squad to be announced.
And it's bullshit! Like, absolute bullshit of a squad.
I mean, that's I share that opinion. So
I read that list of players and was like, oh great, 18 months of me not giving a flying fuck about England football again. Brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, the German sabotaging us clearly needs to go straight away. But no, look, I'm happy in a lot of ways because when it's going to sound, this is such a first world problem. I follow Tottenham so closely. I'm involved in so many different things that, like, the page, everything it's almost like a full-time job keeping up with it. And this club, possibly more than ever, is like relentless in its ability to fuck itself. And
Yep.
like, I don't ever get a quiet day. Do you know what I mean? It's like things can be dead quiet and everything's all right. Like, there's no transfer window, so there's no gossip going around. Like, there's none of that to follow. And all of a sudden, like, something will pop up and it's like, oh, apparently at the training ground today, 2 of the academy players beat the shit out of each other over a girl. And I'm like, what? Why am I, what? Yeah, the club are dealing with it internally. That, you know, no one's going to be made aware of it. They've managed to keep it under wraps. But such and such, you're not going to see him for a while because he's got a black eye. Like, fuck, what the fuck? Like, okay. Now, do I talk about that? Do I talk? No, I'll keep that to myself. But it's just like relentless. And I imagine every club's the same, but obviously I only support Tottenham. So it is full on. So when I get to this international break and I'm going to proper disengage, I'm just like, I am out. Like, yeah, but and it is sad. And this is something that I've said a few times. And I think this is where I really am unhappy with Daniel Levy and everyone at the club, because I don't remember the last time a season ended. Well, it was under Pochettino, but the last time a season ended and I genuinely missed us. Like, it gets to the end of the season and I am just so done.
It's like, oh, thank
so
God,
fed
summer
up.
break.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I mean, we talked about the Tottenham life cycle before. Like, it gets to like the 1st of August and I'm like, we're going to win everything. It's ridiculous. But I genuinely get to the end of the season. Now, those couple 3 years under Pochettino where we were genuinely challenging to win stuff, I was like, right, summer window, here we go. We're going to go now. This is going to be amazing. Like,
Side no one
we're
for 3
right
windows. Fun!
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. It just kind of, but you had that, I had that enthusiasm. Like, I was kind of all through the summer, I was like, couldn't wait to get back to it. And, we were so close. Next season, this, you know, it felt like Pochettino was going to be with us forever. And it felt like the team was just growing and like, we're just going to add that bit of quality to the side. That's what we're going to do. And obviously it never happened and we fell short everywhere. But it felt like we were right there. And since then, Jose, I finished the season, couldn't wait for it to be over. I couldn't watch any more of that shite. Yep. Conte, his first season we had this amazing turnaround which got us into the Champions League, but I was still really kind of, I'm glad that's over. I can have a break. But I was excited. Yeah, but I was excited because I felt like, with Kulusevski and Bentancur coming in, like, we're showing ambition. We're actually going to sign some people and add some people to play his style of football, and then we're going to win something. Didn't happen.
No.
The other one I'm not going to talk about because I can't be asked to play the music. It was just shite, and it's been continually shite for so long. And yeah, I fed up with it.
I started last season. Like, last season, those first few games, I was like, oh my God, we're back. Who's the next match? When are we next playing? By the end of last season, I was like, oh my God, I need a break. And then this season started, and within about 4 weeks, I was like, oh God, it's going to be a long season.
Yeah, so none of it's been enjoyable really, and it's not been enjoyable for quite some time. But I got to hold the higher ups responsible for that. So we're just going to finish on this one thing then, because I just mentioned him. You said to me yesterday, because you listened to Talk Sport.
Yep.
They had an interview with Mauricio Pochettino, our former manager. And do you want to just paraphrase what he said during this interview?
Yes, it made my heart sing. After having lots of jokes
is that because
about
he wants the Man United
job? He spoke about the Tottenham Hotspur job.
Yep.
And to paraphrase, because I won't get the quote exactly right, he said that from the day he left the club, he dreamed and wished to come back. And every day he's like, it could happen. The day before he took the US national job, he was like, it could happen. I could get a call. It could happen. And he still wants and he dreams of one day coming back to the club, but leaving the club a different way to how he did. A different ending. Have a different ending this time. So obviously he wants to come back and he wants to win things still.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the question, and everyone listening, I want you to answer as well.
Yep.
Stefan, would you love him to take over at your beloved Manchester United? No. Would you?
He got asked that. He got asked that and refused to answer.
I know.
I can't hear you. Sorry. What's that signal?
As I said, don't do accents, man. That was borderline racist. I think he. Look, I'm not going to give my opinion. So let's say he isn't in the America job, right? So we know he's unavailable, but let's say he's not and he's available. And let's say we lost last night and they relieve Ange. They say, no, sorry, that was your last chance. You're off. Ryan Mason to the end of the season. Would you be wanting a return of Pochettino?
Oh, he's magic, Mauricio Pochettino. He's mad. Oh, mate, yeah, 100%. 100%, okay. Without even a hesitation.
Okay. I'm interested. Everyone get in touch.
At the end of the World Cup, I am fully hoping it happens. He is not going to leave the US national team before the World Cup in the USA. He's not going to leave that for no one. Like, the biggest club in the world, the closest to his heart, could knock on his door and go, here's an open checkbook, let's go. He is not going to leave the US job before that World Cup. No. But after it.
So, let us know. Get in touch. Contact us through any of the socials, Instagram, Facebook. You can still find us on Twitter. That's what it's called. It will always be called that. You can also get in touch via TikTok or wherever. You can email sam@spursnews.co.uk. Get in touch. Let us know what you think. Would you welcome him back as open-armed as Stefan would? Or do you think he's a lemon-loving nonce like I do? Anyway, no, I say this jokingly. I genuinely don't know, me personally, because the minute he went to Chelsea, that love and affection I had for him went.
But he destroyed them from the inside. He made them spend millions for nothing. It was amazing.
No, there's certain he knew, and he went there. Look, if he took the Arsenal job and he'd been there for a season or something, would you be still wanting him to come back?
It depends if he got them relegated or not.
No, he didn't.
If he went there and genuinely tried to win something, then that would make life very, very difficult.
Which he did at Chelsea. He went there full-throated, full-hearted to try and win stuff with them.
No, I think he wanted to destroy them.
He wasn't. No, that's nonsense. He was. No. How many times did he beat us whilst being manager of Chelsea?
But I saw how sad he looked.
Didn't look sad at all. He looked delighted. He celebrated every goal like a lunatic. Look, to me, he's a professional manager. He was out of work, and a club that was going to pay him a shitload of money came along, and he knew he'd probably only last a little bit, but they'd still have to pay his contract and all his money.
And they literally walked over with the open checkbook I mentioned earlier.
He lives in London. He's still got a house there. That's where his family are, his kids are, and he had the opportunity to just take a job there. I completely get all of that. Like, I do. And there's a sensible part of me that understands every part of it. But nah, fuck him. There's the irrational part that, just still so angry about it. But anyway, let us know. Get in touch. That is our show this week. We are going to take a week off next week because of the international break. But then we will be back with a vengeance the following week to look ahead and talk about all things. So hopefully everyone enjoys the training game, which matters not, doesn't matter. The league's over. Forget about it this weekend. That's my attitude.
Bilbao or bust.
Yeah, that's it. That is it. Everyone enjoy the international break. Until then, everybody, you all take care.
Come on, you Spurs.
Thank you for listening to the Spurs News Podcast. We hope that you enjoyed the show. Stay up to date with all things Tottenham. Follow us on social media. All links are in the podcast description.